Okay, now another of the basic ways to talk about the alphabet, to describe or symbolize the 12 sides of life, are the Arabic parts. Someone just mentioned part of marriage. That's one of the traditional ones. There are a lot of possibilities with Arabic parts, and I don't use all of them. There are literally hundreds. If you really do everything you can do, if you get an Arabic part by adding two things in the chart and subtracting a third, which sounds very mysterious, but it's fairly straightforward. You locate an object in the chart. Say you take the sun. It's in a certain degree of a certain sign, and a certain minute of that degree. So you have three columns. You have the sign column, the degree column, and the minute column for everything in the chart if you're going to work with it. You can add two and subtract a third. End up with a lot of Arabic parts. And they were used by the Arabs. That's where the name came from. But they do go back further than the Arabs. The Arabs kind of carried on astrology during the Dark Ages in Europe, when Europe was rather stagnant intellectually, and the Arabs were doing intellectual things with mathematics and astronomy. That the ones that are the one that is used most consistently by modern astrologers is called the part of fortune, and the formula is adding the ascendant and the moon and subtracting the sun. The symbol used is a circle with a cross in it. So most of you will have seen that in the charts. Neil Mickelson does put it in his computer charts, the only Arabic part entered by most astrologers in their charts.
What did you call it again?
Part of fortune.
Part of fortune.
Is the name traditionally given to it. It is a mistranslation of the Latin name and a misinterpretation of the meaning, as far as I'm concerned. The original name is Fortuna. Fortuna does not mean fortune in English. It means fate. So if it were properly named, it would be called the part of fate and not the part of fortune. And I just said a little while ago that as far as I'm concerned, fate or destiny is a result of character. So I would say it's even closer to the truth to call it the part of character that you brought in from the past. And the theory that I'm going on is taking the logical, basic principle involved with each of these three factors that we're using to get this result. If we take the ascendant to be similar to Mars, or anything in the first house, form of letter 1, personal, automatic, instinctive action. You doing your own thing, whatever that is. If we take the moon to be the emotional unconscious that you brought in from the past, also there right from the beginning of life, but pretty unconscious. You add the two, you could logically say that you are doing, at that point, you are doing a moon thing. You are acting out the moon's nature, where you add the ascendant to the moon. Now the sun, for me, represents our urge to do more than we've done in the past. Our urge to do something bigger, to enlarge our effect on the world and get a response from the world. If you subtract the sun, which we do in this formula, I would say the part of fortune is picking out a place in your life, a form of action that you do automatically and instinctively from the beginning of life, before or without the help of whatever growth you're going to achieve during this lifetime.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, that the part of fortune represents in your chart a sign and a house and whatever aspects it has, where you do something automatically developed from the past without the help of or prior to the development of whatever solar growth you're going to achieve in this life. So it's something you're doing at the beginning of life without benefit of the growth you're going to attain during this life.
Good.
And it may be good, or it may be bad, or it may be indifferent. So most astrologers assume this is going to be something good. It's going to be a lucky place in your chart. And I think that's not true. I've seen people have trouble with the area of life symbolized by their part of fortune, and I have seen people very successful with it. It's like everything in the chart. It's how you handle it. It could be a very nicely developed talent you've brought in from the past, and it could be a weakness that you need to work with, and it could be a conflict if there are conflict aspects to other things in the chart. It could be anything. I have my own part of fortune conjunct Uranus. I assume I have probably been an astrologer in past lives. I picked it up very quickly. Like within a few months I was doing professional astrology, and it just like when I finally came to me, I was ready for it. I just had it, and so I do see it as something from the past, but it isn't good or bad. It's always what you do with it. Now the converse of this, using the same three factors, the Arabic part is called the part of spirit, and I don't like that name any better than I like part of fortune, because I don't think this has anything to do with being spiritual. But this is adding the ascendant to the sun and subtracting the moon. So instead of ascendant plus moon minus sun, you do ascendant plus sun minus moon. And if we do the same logical principles, we say, in this place in my life, I am going to do something more than I've done before. I'm going to enlarge and expand and increase my action, which is the sun principle. Something will have a creative effect, something I pour out into the world, for which I hope to get a result of some kind also, a response from the world. And I'm willing to do this without my moon emotional baggage, subtract the moon, my emotional dependency needs. I'm willing to give up some of that in order to accomplish something bigger. I can let go some of the past to move on into something more. So I think of the part of spirit as not necessarily anything to do with spiritual, but a growth goal of some kind. Through personal action, you're going to do more than you've done before. You're going to be able to let go some of that past and do something bigger. Yes?
What about the change, don't change for nocturnal birth?
So far, I haven't really used that principle. I know astrologers traditionally believe that,
I don't find it works.
I have not ever really tested it seriously, so I can't speak to it. But I've done the same formula for everyone, day and night, and that does seem to work. I did use these Arabic parts for a good many years, but I stopped putting them in charts regularly in 1972 because I got the asteroids. And the asteroids added so much more complication that I decided I could do without the Arabic parts. So now I normally only look at the Arabic parts when I'm doing twins. For twins, I look at everything to try to contrast people born close together, to test the theories, and people that are like important world figures where I'm studying them and trying to figure out everything about them. So for regular clients, I don't usually use them. There's just so much. You can't do it all. Now the same principle can be extended to other planets, but using, again, the same logic. If you add something, you do more of that, whatever it is, and if you subtract something, you do less of that. And the first thing I did to extend this particular formula was to apply it to the midheaven instead of the ascendant. If you add the moon to the midheaven and subtract the sun, theoretically, logically, this could be career activities, status activities, your role in society, kinds of things from the past, before you have done your growth for this lifetime. Whereas if you add the sun to the midheaven and subtract the moon, this could be your growth goal for this lifetime in your career. Your role in society, your status in the world, your handling of power, the midheaven things.
What would that one be then? Sun plus.
Midheaven plus sun minus moon for the future-oriented handling of midheaven matters. So if your midheaven is your place in the world, in the society, in your handling of power, then adding the sun means the area where you're going to do more of that. And the moon is what you brought from the past.
Are these in Mark's program?
These are in Mark's program, correct. Yes, you have them already calculated for you, and we do plan to calculate the charts for anyone who doesn't have them already. You have it, and a couple have been done already, but those of you for whom they have not been done yet, Louise was done wrong, we have to redo Louise's, and then the others, please give me your data, and it may be on the lunch break today we can get some of those calculated, so you'll have them. That's what I would like to do, because the afternoon session today, we would like to practice some with some of these new ideas. Have you put them in your charts, look at them, and see if they're relevant, see if they're meaningful. Rods, nodes, Arabic parts. Yes.
To find your career thrust growth for this life, the sun, the midheaven, subtract the moon.
Right, and it is in the program. If those of you who have our program already calculated, not on the wheel, but on the sheet that has just all the tabular stuff, the first page of all the tabular things, the lower right-hand corner has a list of Arabic parts in it with a formula. Yours won't be right, Louise, you know.
Have you come up with symbols for
Yes, I did make up my own symbols, just very arbitrarily ordinary ones. There is a symbol for the part of spirit, an S and a circle. However, you have to be careful of that because some astrologers use that same symbol for a part of sickness, and some use it for a part of suicide. So check to see how they're using it if you see an S in a circle. So we don't have a good symbol for that, but I went along with the traditional one. I don't like the name or the symbol particularly. I made up my own for the midheaven because that was my idea, and I don't think anyone else does it.
No, I haven't heard of it.
But I used just a plain plus for the one from the past, which is like the part of fortune without the circle. And I used a star, like a plus and an X superimposed for the part of destiny. It's probably your guiding star. So that was a symbol I used for a good many years in astrology. But as I say, I stopped doing them regularly in '72. Now I just do them occasionally. Up to that point, I was using them in every chart I did for a good many years. Yes.
If I have, I've got Neil's printout, if I have like...
He wouldn't have my midheaven ones, I don't think. He probably, those are
There
my
are
own
some
unique
with
things.
midheaven, except they're the traditional interpretation for those is, you know, I mean, what the hell is a part of brethren?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some very strange names and strange interpretations for some of them. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry.
yeah, if the part of treachery is right on my natal Mercury, I mean, do I
You're
just...
jumping the gun.
Oh, wait.
Just hang on.
Oh,
Just
we're not
hang on till I
sure.
talk some more about the Arabic parts.
Okay.
Yes.
That's okay, I'm sure you'll get to what I'm
Okay.
interested in.
To start with, just look at our computer printout. Don't look at Neil Nicholson's.
Okay.
And you see the ones that I use on the lower right-hand corner of the tabular page, not the wheel page.
What do you call this, part of career or?
Part of destiny, part of status, and part of destiny are the names that I used on them. Part of status, the one from the past, where you add the moon, and part of destiny, the one for the future, where you add the sun. Now, if you take the basic formula of ascendant plus planet minus sun, ascendant personal action, plus whatever the planet is, you're going to do that kind of activity before you've done your growth for this lifetime, without the help of the growth of this lifetime. You can take that as a generalized formula and apply it to all the planets.
Wait, what was that, ascendant?
Ascendant plus planet minus sun. Ascendant plus planet minus sun. You can do that with all of the planets, including the asteroids, and I consider that another form of the alphabet. You do it to Mars, it's another Mars in the chart. You add Mars to the ascendant and subtract the sun, you got another Mars position. Do it with Venus, you got another Venus. Do it with Jupiter, you got another Jupiter. Do it with Uranus, you got another Uranus. Now that formula is used by some traditional astrologers, and they give them god-awful names. Then part of treachery, which Julie just mentioned, is one of them. I think that's adding Neptune or Uranus, or maybe they call the one with Uranus catastrophe.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Pluto,
Neptune.
something ridiculous, organization or something like that. The names are terrible and very unenlightening and unhelpful. So if you simply think of ascendant plus planet minus sun as a place where you do the nature of that planet from the beginning of life without whatever growth you achieve in this lifetime, You will modify it as you grow. But that's at the start of life. You have a natural potential for doing that planet at that place. If you grow properly, you will handle it positively. Yes?
Would that be good for understanding children?
I think so. It's good for understanding anybody. And some of these things are just incredible. And one of my favorite examples for the part of Neptune, and I prefer to just call them the part of the planet and just leave out all these judgmental, negative names. So the part of Neptune is ascendant plus Neptune minus Sun, and it's another Neptune in the chart. Well, Richard Nixon had it in Pisces in his 7th house, and his progressed Sun was conjuncted for the 2 years of Watergate. He was learning a Neptune lesson. He was facing a Neptune side of his nature. He didn't handle it very well. Neptune is your faith. When you don't have faith, you lie. You hide things. You're basically deceptive, even self-deceptive. If you lack faith, you can't be open.